an old saying in Texas. I know it's I think it's in Tennessee. I know it's in Texas. That says, "Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, never get fooled again." You know what I got to do is I have to look up that misquote and see if I quoted correctly the misquote. I think it's very close though. I think it says, I know it's in Texas. I think it's in Tennessee. I know it's in Texas. I know that's the order. I'm pretty sure that's the order of it. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, never get fooled again. Those were funny times for the presidency. Will Ferrell playing Bush. It's really funny, you know. I like Bush, believe it or not, because he was committed to finding those weapons of mass destruction. No, just kidding. No, because he's got an unusual life story, and I think it's really something to be proud of in his case. I really do. He started out kind of like a playboy, basically, and just taking things seriously. He had a drinking problem, and he got sober because he found God, and his family is mostly all like Episcopalians. But he became a little bit more, not Pentecostal, but evangelical. And that's how it often is when you have a profound experience of the Holy Spirit. You know what I mean? You're not really comfortable. Like you want to, you know what I mean? You just get more invigorated about some things. And so he gave up drinking and became the fucking president. Like, I mean, like, that's, I mean, it's, you know what I mean? Like, if you're a Democrat, Democrats dismiss him all the time, and, like, they're missing a beautiful life story there, because even though they don't like his politics, something incredible happened with that guy. And it wasn't just like he just quit drinking, became the president. It was like, there was, stuff like that, but, talk about God turning somebody's life around. And he's really like, I don't know. I get someone that's that committed to listening to God. I get, even if they make just different decisions than I would make, Like he prayed in the, they had a regular habit of prayer. I think when other presidents didn't, like in, for everyone, whatever. I get that. Even if I didn't do that, I totally get it because I pray a lot. So yeah. And he was not about to leave that behind, with what he was doing at the time, whether it be president or something else. And I understand that. You know how I found out about him and what made me start to really like him? Is seeing, believe it or not, the movie W, which is not supposed to flatter him at all, but I found it, I thought it did. And you know, he wasn't really self-righteous either. But Democrats are going to remember him differently. They're going to, of course, remember him as self-righteous. That's the image they imposed on him. I think if you go back and watch for yourself, and there's, you know what I mean? It's not like going back to biblical times where there was no YouTube. You can go on there and watch him in person yourself, and you'll see. He had a swagger. You know what I mean? He was very like pro-American, but he was not heavily self-righteous. If I recall. And I have to say that thought just now came off the top of my head. But as I'm kind of thinking back through, I waited for a second. I'm like, should I say that? Let me think this over. Make sure that gels with, you know. Sometimes we all get those things that pop into our head and we're like, let me vet that first. Unless you're going to count the axis of evil thing. You know what I mean? That's in it. You know what I mean? And that is kind of self-righteous. I mean, like, it goes with the territory though, but like, I mean, let's face it, to a certain degree, you have to be sort of self-righteous as the president. You know what I mean? Because like, you can't be at war with the country and be like, they're just as good as us. I mean, you can, but you sort of kind of can't because you know what I mean? You're in the war. You know what I mean? Obviously, you're like in the war because you believe the other side is doing something they shouldn't be doing, and you're having to fight against that. Anyway, think about this. Vladimir Putin doesn't like gay people, doesn't like all that. Bush wasn't anti-gay. Now, he wasn't going to sign the, he didn't want to do the, he wasn't pro-gay either. You know what I mean? But like wasn't, he was going to, didn't he allow the Catholic Church not to provide, like not to have to pay, the insurance stuff or whatever like that. Like, that's understandable. But that's his, you know what I mean? That was his religious conscience doing that. So I don't count that against him. I don't. I really don't. Unfortunately, it sucks when someone is following their conscience and it's against what your conscience says. Happens all the time. God tells us different things. Why? I don't know, because that doesn't make sense to any human. But he does. Like, for example, during the coronavirus, there was something I watched during the coronavirus. It was on Facebook. He did because he rarely appears in public anymore, but he still lives in wherever he does in Texas, like Crawford or whatever. And, so he's seen around town and stuff. I haven't seen him since I sold my house down there. But the message he gave during the coronavirus pandemic about us all pulling together was unless you believe he's a total liar, and I don't. I believe he's being sincere about it. It was a really moving message. It kind of showed you the kind of a guy that he is. For a Republican especially, pretty cool. Pretty cool. But even still, no, he's and the Bushes are a family that his father was a really good guy. And there's, you know what I mean? And he kind of takes after him in his own way. He's his own man, too. It's different from H.W. Bush, but some of those really good values about, American values are reflected in him, definitely. So, anyway, if you ever see this W and you won't, You gave us a lot to laugh at when you were president. Some of those things are like just the best, you know. And you were a really easy communicator. As far as you were a good communicator in that way. And even though I'm a Democrat, I still think you did the best you could. And you said history would vindicate you. And I think not that long later, when we had the Capitol riot, everyone saw that that was clearly the case. I mean, so anyway, yeah. So thank you. And that's it. All right, everybody, listen. That's all for now. Remember to brush your teeth, to floss, and to say your prayers. Brush your teeth more often than I have the last couple of days if you can. And I'll see you in the next video. I love you all. Peace.